With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of discovering the last donut.
Ooh.
And it has your name on it, literally, in chocolate sprinkly things.
No way.
Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
Michael Wilbon will join us in a little bit. Bottom of the hour, Noah Begay will join us to talk about what he saw out of Tiger's first competitive round in 300 days. And, of course, he knows Tiger better than most.
Yes, he does.
A former teammate and roommate of Tigers at Stanford, plus Katie Nolan will join us in the last hour, as will Tim Tebow. So we got a lot going on, and there's a lot going on this weekend in college football, and we sort of teased it over with so many openings. There's still an opening in Tennessee.
Right.
It looks like there's going to be an opening at Florida State, and there is an opening at Texas
A&M. That might be filled by Jimbo Fisher. That's
and
a real
there could be an opening
situation.
in Washington State.
Right.
So all these moving parts.
For those that may not know what Trey's saying, Mike Leach has interviewed for the Tennessee job. Yeah. Imagine Mike Leach doing pressers in the SEC.
Right next to Nick Saban.
Holy smokes.
SEC Media Day would be must-watch
Let
TV.
it happen.
Yeah, swing your sword. Swing your sword, Media Day in the SEC.
Absolutely right.
That would be great. But it got us to thinking, and our great crew behind the wall of integrity there, behind the glass, there are only 10 coaches in Power 5 conferences that have been at their schools 10 years or more. And we struggled a little bit trying to name all these guys.
Yeah, we did. But we did. We got most of them. Paul Johnson from Georgia Tech, David Cutcliffe from Duke, Dabo Swinney from Clemson, Mark D'Antonio from Michigan State, Nick Saban, Alabama, Pat Fitzgerald from Northwestern, Kyle Whittingham from Utah, which is an interesting one because Utah hasn't been in the Pac-12 for that we're talking about 10 years.
But he's been at Utah.
At Utah. Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State. Gary Patterson, TCU, and Kirk Ferentz at Iowa are the coaches.
It's just amazing how much change there has been.
And there's a lot this year. And like I said, a lot of good jobs, a lot of quality jobs from UCLA being, available to what we have with Tennessee and Arkansas and Texas A&M and possibly now Florida State as well. Arizona State, which our buddy Herm Edwards is going to be interviewing for this weekend. So there's a lot of really good jobs that are available this year.
Don't go, Herm. Don't go. I'll miss my road
I have a
dog.
feeling we're going to really be calling him coach again.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you say that on NFL Live yesterday. I always call him the coach. I said, welcome in. It's Adam Schefter, Teddy Bruschi, and the coach. No, really. I mean, he's the coach.
The coach. He really is.
And he said, stop it. Yeah. Just stop it right there. I said, do we need to put up a wall between you and Teddy? Arizona State,
that's
Wildcat Sun Devil.
Uh-huh.
So, again, he's going to be interviewing for the job this Sunday. And, look, Herm's the greatest in the world. And do you want to talk about a guy that you would want your son to play for?
I mean, I know he's been out. I actually saw some tweets from Arizona State people who weren't as sure of it as we are because we know Herm, because saying, oh, my God, he's been out of ball for so long. He may have been out of ball as far as on the field, say for coaching high school All-Americans who, oh, by the way, are going on to play at your college. He's been very involved in the game. Man, with all the crap going on in college sports right now, the off-the-field stuff and the FBI involved and things and all that, man, would he be a breath of fresh air.
And you want to talk about a guy that can come in and talk to parents and kids and close the deal to get them to come to your school?
Without question.
I mean, nobody owns a room like that.
Without question. One other thing before we get to Wilbon and what's going on, obviously in basketball, what with the money in the NFL to the players and such, Tiger Woods had himself a good day yesterday going 3 under. And you threw out a poll question. I thought it was a good one. And I mean, and again, we're jumping on this right away. Your poll question at Wingo's, and I retweeted it at ESPN Golic, and it's at Golic and Wingo as well. Tiger Woods' great start means something, everything, nothing, or golf is boring. And for a golf guy like you should be very happy that golf is boring is last in this. And 1% apart, 36% nothing, 35% something. So, and you know what? And I get both of those. I absolutely positively get both of those. And then the question was asked by someone on Twitter, if Tiger were to come back and win a major, would that be one of the greatest sports comebacks of all time, coming back from all those surgeries and then winning a major? So we are asking out there, and boy, we got 2 buttes. We got 2 absolute incredible ones out there. One, Rocky Bleier.
Yeah.
I mean, being shot at Vietnam and then coming and playing for the Steelers and rushing for over having a 1,000-yard season. Absolutely incredible. And then another one happens to be in the world of golf, and I had forgotten about this. Ben Hogan.
Yep.
Ben Hogan in February of 1945 threw himself across the legs of his wife Valerie to protect her in a car crash. His injuries were a double fracture of the pelvis, a fractured collarbone, fractured left ankle, chipped ribs, and near-fatal blood clots. A surgeon had to be flown in to save his life. That was in 1945.
Yeah, in the middle of West Texas, by the way. It was not like they were near a hospital. Right. I mean, they were hit by a bus.
Yeah,
it was a bus.
The picture of the car, it's unreal. 1949. 1950, he won the U.S. Open.
Right. I mean, barely walk.
Unbelievable. So thanks for the tweets. A lot of people are saying Ben Hogan and others, Rocky Bleier. So we'll keep talking about that.
Yeah, those are two really good ones.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a lot to get into with Michael Wilbon, and we're delighted to have Michael Wilbon of PTI join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Yeah, hey, Michael, we've been talking about a bunch of stuff, but obviously Tiger has been dominating a lot of conversation from what we saw on Thursday. When you just saw him out there walking free and easy, no pain, and striping that driver as well as he did, what was your reaction to how you thought he played?
Trey, it was, I hope it lasts.
Right.
It's really simple. It's not, looking to hit the majors or even the end of this tournament, not even Sunday. How long can he do this? I hope he can just build one round after another after another. I mean, people talk about winning majors. You don't just walk in sort of off the street after not playing competitively for as long as Tiger has not played and just return to your old self. And so I'm just hoping he can be out there long enough to, sort of show us a semblance of his old self first. And look, it would be an extraordinary comeback. And it's very different from the ones you just mentioned with Ben Hogan and Rocky Bleier. But I think of the two careers that are in great part defined by their comebacks are two other athletes that we compare to him often, to Tiger often, and that's Muhammad Ali, and I'm talking about athletically, not necessarily socially. Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan. I mean, their careers, the comeback is very, very much a part of their greatness and the brilliance and why we are drawn to their careers time and time again and make these any comparisons. So Tiger, because of his just worldwide fame and impact, you start to daydream about that stuff. Golf needs him. Sport needs him. I find it difficult to get myself too crazed about this yet, given how far he's got to go to be Tiger Woods again. But yesterday, that was fun. It was just fun to watch.
Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing. And the thing that's interesting, from Tiger's perspective, he was famous for saying, second sucks and third is worst. It was always about winning.
Yeah.
His own expectations going into this was, I don't know. So he's
right.
Sort of where the rest of us are watching him, which has never been the case. And I think that makes it even more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, remember, he's already nearly 10 years past his last, bit of greatness. 10 years. I mean, that's as long as he was great. We've been without Tiger in terms of that, as long as we had him. So, it's I can't wait to watch again today. But I certainly just decide I'm not having any more expectations. We've been down this road with Tiger and comebacks before, particularly because it's health. With Ali and Jordan going back to use them, it wasn't health with either one of them, and they were younger. I think they were both 30. Maybe Jordan was a little older. Jordan had to be about 33, but Ali was 30 years old. Forget how young they were. Tiger's 42?
Yep, going to be.
So look, it's a great story. If he could shoot in the 60s again today, I know people will start getting really carried away at that point for the weekend. What is a big football weekend? Tiger would interrupt that and in a welcome way.
We don't want to have expectations, but for all of us who just watched him through his magical years, it's hard for us not to. So you kind of have to hold off and, like I said, wait and see if we can see consistency. So we'll see how the second round goes today. Michael, I had made some comments about your what you talked about when the NFL working out the deal with the Players Coalition, the $89 million, and anybody can find out where all that money is going and things like that. And you didn't seem real enthralled by it. And I was talking about some of your sound, so that's why I wanted to have you on. I guess in the big general sense of the question, because now we have the couple of players going at it as well with Eric Reed and Malcolm Jenkins, and that's a shade. Hopefully those guys can actually speak to one another and get things squared away. But just in this overall picture of what we're looking at, what do you see as, if there's going to be some kind of deal, acceptable where you would say, hey, this is something going in the right direction?
Well, and Mike, I'm conflicted even in the comments I made on PTI a couple of days in a row, but 2 days ago we talked about it a little more depth. I'm conflicted. I just don't know that there's, I don't want it to seem like there's a rights fee attached to whatever is decided. It really, is that going to get us to the point that this whole thing started over anyway? And my answer to that is no. And yet, Frank Isola, who was on the show that day subbing for Tony, said, wait a minute, you cannot turn away from money. This could be seed money to start a program that could really matter. And yes, that is true. But I don't know where the money is going. Money, just throwing money at it alone is not in the spirit of what Kaepernick did. And I don't know. I have issues at times with Kaepernick as the person, as the voice of this, as the face of this, even though he is indeed the person who has sacrificed the most. It appears he's sacrificing the second half of a career, of an athletic career, of a professional career. But, I think of other people who have protested as well. And was some package from ownership in that sport going to seriously address the issues that we're talking about? And Mike, I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna. Yeah. I don't. As a matter of fact, there is no absolute answer. Money alone won't do it, but I don't want to turn down that money either. If indeed somebody, a group, a coalition, and I know the players disagree about this right now, if some group can figure out how to use that money to address the specific issue over which this started, then I would feel much better about it. I don't know that can happen, and I don't know that just some payment that looks like go away money.
Right.
I know that's not the answer. So this is really difficult. And here's the thing. Also, is this going to stop? Is this going to make every player stand for the anthem? No, because if it was that easy, then this wouldn't have been something that should have been brought up in the first place.
I agree with you, Michael, that I don't think you can say this is the answer and this solves everything. There's no way that can happen. I guess one of my points was, one thing, this is an unbelievable social issue that's being talked about. And I was trying to make a comparison, and it can be bad. You let me know. We all, or a lot of people, have foundations, causes, things that they feel so deeply about, whether they lost someone in their family and they have a cause, something. And the one thing I said is, you have players that feel so strongly about this, and the one thing they can't do is make 32 owners care about it as much as them.
That's
just
absolutely.
I agree with
you completely.
Right, just like we can't. Someone approaches us about, hey, can you help my cause or my foundation?
Right.
What would we do? We may go to an event and then we would donate some money, but we don't have the same interest in it that they do. Doesn't mean we don't care, but just not the same interest. So I guess that was my point, to expect 32 older billionaire owners to say, yeah, we get it, and we'll be arm in arm with you every step of the way.
Yeah.
That might be a little out there. So, listen, if you can negotiate more money than the $89 million, go for it. But if not, man, take the money and do the best you can with it.
And that's what. And again, Mike, I find myself saying and agreeing with that. The second part of that. Okay, so if you have this money out there, and God knows, there's not a cause worth fighting that I can think of that can't be helped with resources. We're talking about, financially or human capital. So there's no way to disagree with that. But again, the bigger question I know that we undertook that day was, what is that going to do? Is that going to then appease the general public, which, we know from polls out there,
right,
is largely upset with the appearance of this? No. And here's what Mike, here's what I think we lost sight of. This is supposed to be uncomfortable.
That's exactly right.
This is most uncomfortable for the person undertaking it specifically. And again, we go back to Kaepernick, the original source of it, and other players, not just Kaepernick, but he's the first one in this episode. So it's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be ongoing, this particular thing, because the issues are ongoing. And there's no one solution. Hopefully we get to a place where the initial discussions about law enforcement, we see some improvement. We see some evolving. But will money do that? I don't know. And there's so much here. And the players disagree. Of course players disagree over this. I mean, even players who feel that they want to observe this during the anthem, even in real time when they were doing it, they disagreed. Of course people disagree. And Mike, that's a great analogy about players' own causes and passions and pursuits. They come to different degree, and I don't expect a league and ownership to look at it in quite the same way. But I think that demand and the demand to have it further discussed as frequently as possible, I think that is still as much of the agenda as the solution. Because the solution, I'm not sure what the solution would be.
No, you're right.
What we all decide is, okay, they did it now. They did it. Everybody can, sort of. I don't know what that point is.
Well, you're right, but it has to start somewhere, and I think that's the point of the whole protest was let's start something. And I feel like this is a beginning, and everybody's going to make their own judgments. Malcolm Jenkins says he's not going to protest the anthem anymore.
Yeah,
and he and Chris Long, who are teammates, and they've been really together on this, have said, look, we would never put our names to this if it was a quid pro quo. But everyone has to come to that point for their own selves, and we'll see what this happens. It's just a launching point. That's all it is. And we'll launch on, and we'll see how it goes, and we'll move on to something else, Michael. And let's talk about the NBA with you. As Michael Wilbon here on Golic and Wingo from PTI. It's amazing. People forget sometimes how long the NBA season is because, 3 weeks ago, the Cavs are terrible.
The Celtics are great.
The Celtics are great. Suddenly the Celtics have made some stumbles, and Cleveland, without one of the pieces they thought was going to be huge for them in Derrick Rose, has suddenly ripped together 10 straight wins.
Yeah, I think what's a little surprising is Cleveland doesn't customarily, and when I say Cleveland, you can make this Miami as well. I mean, this is a LeBron-led team, so we now have the fourth year that's in Cleveland. You had 4 years in Miami. Those teams usually don't rev it up at any point in sort of December or January. They take a while to settle in. We see their best. We may see a glimpse or two, and then we see their best later on. This is sort of fun. Because I think, and I don't know, they haven't really talked about what they've talked about, but I think that Cleveland at this point did look at Boston and say, okay, we're not going to have a season like last year. I thought last year the Cavaliers were downright disappointing in the regular season. 51 wins for a sitting champion. And, there's always this need, and I don't feel the need for it, but I think most people do, and I understand it, to compare LeBron to Michael Jordan and in terms of winning, Magic and Kareem and Bird and others. Those guys never came back with a healthy sitting championship team, defending team, and won as few as 51 games. I mean, that would have been embarrassing to Michael. And they won 51 games last year. And I just wondered about them coming into this regular season. What are they going to do? They're going to drop down to 4th or 5th in the East and then go after Boston? I don't think that's realistic. I remember Jerry West, I talked to him during the finals last year. He just said, look, you develop that many bad habits in a season. I don't care how great you are. You may get to the finals. You're not going to win. There's going to be another team that beats you. And so it's not just Golden State that Cleveland's playing. It's also Boston. Mm-hmm. Their team's on the come. And I'm glad that Cleveland has sort of been awake and present. I don't think they have to do this the whole regular season, but it's pretty cool for the league, I think, to see it and get a glimpse of it as we have now.
Completely agree.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, and we're running up against it here, but just how this season is so much different from the last, coupled with the losses. I mean, the Warriors have already lost 6.
Yep.
I think it was 37 games. They'd won 37 games before they lost last year, so it's going to be an interesting season. Hey, Michael, we appreciate you being on. Always good to talk to you about a myriad of topics. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, you guys. Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something. A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico. Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
We continue on Golic and Wingo.
I don't know what to say.
Cliff, the board up phenomenal. I'm a believer is the song. And, of course, we're talking about Tiger Woods as we're presented by Progressive Insurance. So does that make the perfect musical segue to what we're talking about?
Do we want
to
believe again? We want to so badly.
We do we want to believe? Yes, but can we?
I know.
That's the question, right? That is the question. And we're talking about the idea of maybe we're getting maybe just a little taste, if you will, of what it used to be. Because I believe, in my from in all my years being here, 20 years, and really all my years in the business, I'm not sure. Outside of Mike Tyson, maybe. I don't think I've ever seen a guy dominate a sport more than Tiger Woods dominated in two separate runs from 1999 through 2002, and then once again from 2005 through 2009 or 2009. Really, those two stretches.
Listen, there have been a few. There have been Serena Williams. There has been Michael Phelps.
Yes.
There has been am I blanking on his name? My sprinter.
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt.
Yes.
I mean, there have been a few that were just you're just wow. Now, Tiger is not going to get back to that.
No.
He's not going to. But boy, to see him walking down one of the last few twosomes on a Sunday, for a PGA season, certainly would be great for golf. And oh, by the way, it would be great for the networks and the ratings. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Look, and again, people can say, well, these players now are better than him. He can't beat him. And that may be true.
It may be true.
But the reason that Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth and Dustin Johnson and, Ricky Fowler and all these guys have all these things at their disposal and all the money is because of all the things that Tiger Woods was able to do and raise the roof on the ratings and the revenues that these players are getting. John Rahm, the new players out here. Everybody, Jason Day, all these guys.
They're all benefiting from what Tiger did. Listen, golf has been around forever. Tiger took it to another level from an interest level of those that may not have been interested with it. You know what he did, which is the thing you want in a sport, because you always have your people that are your fans.
Followers, yeah.
He brought in the casual fan.
Absolutely.
And he brought them in by the millions. And as I said, he's not going to dominate like that again. But, man, just to get a taste of it again, I think would get a lot of people going.
Need a hit.
Yeah, there you go.
Need a hit of Tiger Mania.
Yeah.
And nobody knows Tiger better than Noah Begay, the golf analyst on the Golf Channel, former PGA player and a former roommate and teammate of Tiger Woods at Stanford. And he joins us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Noah, thanks for getting up early and being with us. Look, everybody wants to believe that this is the start of something special, and we'll find that out over these next few days and maybe going forward. But what did you see, Noah, from the Thursday round of Tiger that maybe gives you a little more hope than we've seen in a long time that he could be back to playing very well in competitive golf?
There was a handful of things. First and foremost, this is a great start point for him in terms of the progression and his work towards contending in tournaments and then eventually, hopefully, majors. But just generally speaking, I haven't seen the athleticism in his golf swing like this in a few years. And I don't know if it's just the pain reduction, getting rid of that, and then all of the training he's done around that. But he really was moving a lot more fluidly than I've seen in quite some time. But lastly, I just think that he pieced together a really nice round. Made some big mistakes on the par fives, played the par fives horribly, which he usually takes advantage of, and still managed to put up a good score.
The one thing going forward, I'm wondering, Noah, is and you obviously know this better than any of us, is the work. Now we just see on the golf course the 18 holes, but then does the player go to the practice range before that? How much practice during the week? How much practice before? How much are they swinging? Can Tiger, however much he did of that, can he still do that? Even though he may feel good physically, there is the age and coming off all those surgeries. So could that be a worry as a season goes on of just how much he can do before and after rounds?
Mike, I'll tell you something funny. After I finished covering Tiger's round yesterday, producer Tom Roy sent me back out to finish up the Spieth Kuchar group. And so I went back out, caught them on the 17th hole. They both made birdie at the 17th. Watched them play the 18th, and then as I was driving back to the compound, I drove by the back of the practice range and guess who was hitting balls on the back of the practice range just before the sun went down, and it was Tiger Woods. So that's a pretty good answer to your question right there. He's able to put in the time in between rounds and tweak those little things that he feels like he needs to work on to make it a little bit better today.
Yeah, I imagine chipping might be something he was working on. That was the only really fly in the ointment there.
I'm sure there was a few minutes moving over to the chipping area for Tiger last night.
Absolutely, and I guarantee you, if you could make a lot of money saying, I don't think he's going to go one over again for the par fives.
Yeah, how about
one more
it?
time. That would be unusual. Noah Begay from the Golf Channel and NBC joins us here on Golic and Wingo. Again, Tiger Woods comeback round 2. Coverage time for the Hero World Challenge, 12:30 to 4:30 today on Golf Channel. Saturday, noon to 2:30 on the Golf Channel, and then 2:30 to 5 on NBC. And they split it up again on Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1 on the Golf Channel, then 1 to 4 on NBC. So, Noda, one of the things that we sort of observed in watching him, to your point about how athletic he looked, but the other thing that speaks volumes to Tiger is just how many people were interested that were outside the golf world, to what Mike was talking about before you joined us. We saw Michael Phelps tweet in about it. We saw
Bo
Jackson, Steph Curry. And from what I was reading, so many of the players, actually, Noda, that were on the course that were either ahead of Tiger or asking, were also asking people around, hey, how's Tiger doing, right? Sort of everybody wanted to know that was there how exactly he was getting along.
Yeah, ever since he turned pro in the mid-'90s, and then the way he won the Masters in '97 just really created this swell of interest in sports, not just golf. Golf has historically been a niche sport, very consistent but small demographic that would tune in to watch the broadcast. But Tiger changed that. It changed it by the way he played and who he was and the way that he won. I mean, he won by 6, 7, 8 shots and just dominated the game like no one we'd ever seen before. And I think it just literally transcended our sport economically, from our fan base and from viewership. It just really moved us into another echelon. And I think that many of us are hopeful that, if he's able to compete against the younger guys, the Spieth and the Johnsons, the Fowlers, those guys, we could see another spike in our game. And I know that we're all eager to maybe see Tiger hit that magic button again.
Well, Noah, you've seen him come back a couple of times. He's done this a few times. He's had over basically 3 years of downtime through the different breaks that he's had through rehabbing from his surgeries and such. What do you have, or do you have expectations on what you think can happen this time around?
Well, I'd like to get through this next 54 holes pain-free and with no major hiccups, but assuming he comes out of this event next week in good shape, good form, feeling good, moving good, no major hiccups. Based on what I saw yesterday, there's a huge upside. I mean, primarily in his speed. I mean, he was keeping it right up there with Justin Thomas, and they outdrove each other a couple times each, but I mean, Thomas is one of the dominant players on the PGA Tour, reigning PGA Tour Player of the Year. So for him to be able to keep up with a player like that after not playing for basically 12 months, and Thomas is playing some of the best golf of his career, says a lot about his talent, says a lot about where his game's at right now. So there's still work to be done, and he needs some more game speed reps. But like I said at the start, it was a good place for him to get this next comeback moving forward.
All right, so Noah Begay with us. It was a great start. Last year in the first round, he shot a 73, then had a great second round. But now that he's gone under par in the first round, his expectations obviously change a little bit. So in your estimation, what would be a successful second round today, not only for you from seeing how he played, but in Tiger's mind? Okay, I shot 3 under. I probably should have shot 5 under because I flubbed a couple of chips. What do you think his number is out there today?
I think, well, I don't know necessarily it's a number. I think you'd like to clean up the sloppiness on some of those par fives and around the green. I know that just be a little bit more efficient. You saw Fleetwood go around bogey-free. That's the kind of golf that these guys are looking for, is mistake-free, take advantage of the holes that you have a good club in your hand or a good birdie looks. And I think if he shoots anywhere under par, it's going to be a really good step moving forward. So that'd be 36 holes back-to-back subpar against a really strong field on a good golf course.
To be pain-free, that's obviously the key, because then he can keep playing. And if he is pain-free and is going to keep playing throughout the season, in your mind, what should be the expectations of the schedule that he will keep? The amount of tournaments he may want to go in, to not do too much, but certainly still do enough to keep himself consistent.
Yeah, that's important, Mike. That's a great point. And at this level, you need to play to stay sharp. I mean, with the season being extended into the fall now for the players, you're seeing a lot more of the world's top players playing in October and November and December just because you have to. And I think Tiger understands that. I would love to see him add a couple more events early in the schedule next year. Typically, we see him at Farmers. Typically, we see him at events we've seen him at for years. But I think, adding an extra event in there just to sort of get another look, get a fresh look at something and keep this progression moving forward and keep challenging himself in different ways. From what I saw out there from tee to green, it was pretty sharp, and his distance is good. And I don't think that there should be too many concerns around whether or not Tiger can get the ball out there with these young guys.
Well, it'll be fun to watch, Noda. We appreciate it. And you've watched him up close. President's Cup teammates, roommates at Stanford, teammates at Stanford. His nickname at Stanford was Urkel, right? Wasn't that Tiger's nickname?
Yeah, that's the name I gave him because before he got LASIK, he used to wear these big, thick Coke bottle glasses. And he was really skinny and tall, and at the time, Family Matters was a popular show, and he looked like Urkel, so I gave it to him, and it stuck. And I still call him that when I get mad at him.
I didn't know that you were the one that stuck it with him. That's tremendous. All right, that's why we had you on the show, because we knew that. We totally knew you were the one that got him Urkel.
That was the keeper right there.
That's tremendous. Hey, Noda, we really appreciate you being with us. Enjoy the coverage today. We're going to enjoy watching it again. It starts today, round 2, 12:30 to 4:30 on the Golf Channel. Noah Begay and the labeler of Tiger Woods as Urkel. Thanks for being with us on Golic and Wingo.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We roll on Golic and Wingo on a Friday morning. We're on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Coming up next hour, Katie Nolan will join us. Huge Pats fan.
Yes, absolutely. Big time.
Delighted to talk to her.
We saw her at the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Last time I saw her before she joined us here at ESPN.
Exactly. And Tim Tebow will be with us at 9:30 Eastern to talk about what we hope is a huge, chaotic weekend of college football championship games.
Every college football analyst out there has their fingers crossed.
Please let it be chaos. Please let it be chaos. Yes. Otherwise, David Pollack and Reese, hey, good luck with that show that's going to feel like 27 hours instead of 4.
Really is.
But
watch it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
All 4 hours.
Yes.
All 4 hours.
Absolutely.
So anyway, we had Noah Begay on last segment talking about Tiger Woods. They were teammates and roommates at Stanford.
Right.
And then I knew that Tiger's nickname at Stanford was Urkel because he had these big, thick glasses and had these allergies.
Right, before he had the LASIK, he had the big, thick Urkel glasses.
I did not know, when I asked him that question, that Noda was the one that gave him that nickname. So the fact that those two were roommates and teammates got us to thinking about some other interesting roommates, either in college or out of college, either in sports or entertainment. And we came up, the research department here did a fascinating job with some great names here.
Really did. How about this one? Tommy Lee Jones and Al Gore were roommates at Harvard.
That's I would like to hear those conversations.
You're not kidding.
That's interesting.
And then go right to mixing sports and entertainment. I just can't fathom how this one went.
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds.
Oh, yeah.
Lee Corso, Florida State.
At some point, we're going to have a conversation with Lee.
I mean, amazing.
At some point, we're going to have a real long conversation with Lee about that one. How about this one?
Go ahead.
University of Minnesota, Tony Dungy and the late, great Flip Saunders.
That is something.
Right?
I do like that one. A couple others from athlete side, Reggie Wayne, Ed Reed at the U, Troy Polamalu, Carson Palmer at USC, Marcus Allen, Ronnie Lott at USC, Joe Montana, Charlie Weiss at Notre Dame.
Gotcha.
Steve Mariucci and Tom Izzo.
Boys forever.
At Northern Michigan.
And then some really off-the-wall ones. Stanley Tucci, one of the most versatile actors out there.
Right.
And Ving Rhames, who was also great at SUNY Purchase. And then Owen Wilson and Wes Anderson at Texas. Now, Wes Anderson, the Grand Budapest Hotel, Moonrise Kingdom, all those movies, great director. And, of course, Owen's been in everything. And then there were some roommates away from college. And this might even be more interesting.
Yeah, how about Conan O'Brien and Jeff Garland were roommates in Chicago?
Yeah, that's great.
Ben Affleck and Matt Damon,
obviously,
were roommates. Judd Apatow and Adam Sandler in the San Fernando Valley.
And then there's this one. And, boy, I would like to know the years that these guys were roommates because that would really change the discussion. Robert Downey Jr. and Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to know what years we're talking about there because that would either...
Roomies in Los Angeles...
Those two?
If those walls could talk, depending, you're right, on the time that they were, and this all seems to be years ago.
Exactly.
So,
what's the Van Halen song, Running with the Devil?
Holy smokes.
That would be good.
Jonah Hill and Justin Long.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito and Michael Douglas in New York.
That's a sitcom, isn't it?
That really is.
The DeVito and Douglas show, coming up Thursdays after House of Cards.
And then listen, you'll love these guys.
Yeah.
Two of the great actors, Dustin Hoffman and Gene Hackman in New York.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Fantastic.
That is really cool.
That's just really great to think about all these things.
I had a roommate in at Notre Dame who had piranhas.
We had
piranhas.
Yeah.
And we'd come home from maybe a night out where we may have been, involved in some things.
Talking.
Yeah. And we would cut ourselves on the finger and put our bloody finger in the thing.
Why?
Because we were dumb college kids.
Why would you do that?
Well,
did they ever nip?
They tried to, but I have all 10 digits, so they didn't do it well enough.
Jungle cat
They
reflexes.
weren't quick enough.
That's the first time they've ever said Golic was quicker than anybody. He was faster than the piranha.
Woo!
We're back next hour. Stay with us, Golic and Wingo. Nip, nip.